Here we are with Steve Thatcher at his house here on Lummi Island in Hales Pass. And Steve has a shellfish farm, and he's going to tell us all about it today.
It's actually a cooperative between myself and Jeff Jacobson. We've shared the expenses and duties and maintenance on it.
And how long have you been in operation?
This is the fourth crop that we just harvested. We actually have a few bags left, and the next crop will go in. There's a crop out there now, and the next crop will go in June 8th. Is the seed
what
sale.
Are you growing?
We grow Pacific oysters. They're called triploids, which are they're a sterile version of the Pacific oyster, and we grow them for 18 months from seed planting to harvest.
And why do you grow triploids?
We grow triploids so that they're a very common commercial oyster, and they're grown so that they don't have a season during spawning season when they're not sellable.
So they keep their meat better during the spawning season.
They're in a more harvestable condition for all of the year, rather than a natural Pacific oyster would be part of the year would not be in a sellable condition.
Okay, well, shall we head down to the tidelands here?
You can kind of get the first view of them out on the tide flats.
You see some platforms out there.
Yep, those are them.
That's the farm.
So this is some of the equipment. These are the bags that we grow them in. They're kind of a plastic. They're somewhat flexible. They have an open end on one end that the seeds go inside, and then you seal the end up and you mark it with they have a color on them that marks the year that they're planted in. And then this is the table that we use when we're sorting or moving oysters between bags. You empty them on the table and you can recount them into bags.
And that's where you take all the barnacles off and the mussels if they're
we haven't had too bad of barnacle issues, so it's more that when we put the seeds in, we put them at 150 count to a bag, and for the final summer of grow out they need to be under 80 a bag. So you have to dump the bags out and split them basically in half.
So how many years how long do they grow till you have adults?
18 months. So they planted in June. The next spring we split them out into 80. They go through that next summer, and then you harvest them in the winter months.
All right, let's go down.
We're done with harvest.
Oh, tide.
So this is a bag of oysters that we harvested, and they're just set up on the beach so that I can come and get them at a higher tide and eat them. Basically, they're just a holding position here while we're waiting to eat them.
And so in terms of size, do you call these, this looks like you've got a few sizes here.
Well, they're all the same age, surprisingly enough. They just, sometimes some of them grow large and some of them don't. I think it's more of where they're positioned in the bag relative to the other oysters. And
nice. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and here's a clam.
Or a clam shell, at least.
Clam shell. Everybody should know what that is after yesterday when we did our clam survey. The bent nose Macoma. We did a clam survey at the ferry beach yesterday.
Oh, all right. That's a good beach. I go there to harvest butter clams. Somewhat regularly.
I will cut off. And looks like a lot of eel grass.
Here's a crab moving around here. A little kelp crab. Or that's what I call it anyway.
There it goes. A lot of eelgrass here. Looks like a really healthy eelgrass bed. right.
Yes. And I would suspect that that's a male and a female, that they're just getting ready to spawn.
Oh, there's two of them there.
Yeah. The male on top is, they hold the female, I believe, until they molt, and then the spawning occurs then. So they're just, this is the time of year when they do that.
That's a nice find.
Yeah, he's almost legal. But we'll just leave him be.
Well, here we are, out at the farm itself. So, what are these things, Steve?
Well, because of the oysters like a hard surface to sit on. They're not like clams. They don't like to sink into the mud, and it's kind of soft out here. We put them on what I call tables, and you see they're about, they're about 6-8 inches above the bottom. They basically have a cover on top. That's just wired down. Undo the cover. Catching crabs and things is the issue we've been having, and we're trying to
oh, there's a crab.
We're putting different sized lids on there.
So the crabs like to get in, and
well, I think they just get entangled as much as anything. They have a hard time getting out.
There's a kelp crab there, stuck in the net.
So then this is what, once you take the lid off, this is what the year-olds look like. And these we have we just sorted them down to the 80 count in a bag a couple of weeks ago. So this is these are about a year old from the seed, and they have this summer to continue to grow.
And how big was the seed when you
The seed's
started?
about as big as the end of your little finger.
That.
It'll just
Let's
be
see that size
about that
there.
big.
Okay.
And they're just big, and they don't go through the holes.
And where does the seed come from?
The seed is provided by Taylor Shellfish, which is down in Salish Bay. They're a large shellfish concern, and at several places they have seed sales because they encourage basically citizen gardens like this. It's encouraged by both the state and Taylor Shellfish. The state doesn't require any permits for this on state property, as long as it's for personal use only.
And why do they encourage it?
Because oysters are really good at water purification. They filter feed. They enhance the water quality of the whole sound. If they
So the more shellfish gardens, the better.
Gardens, the better, yes.
Good.
And
Okay.
so you can see on this table, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bags across here, which is the size of the table. There's 7 on that one, and then there's 7 on that one, and then the table over there is empty, and that's the seed. That's where we're going to put the seeds next week. Is we'll put them on that empty table in order to, and we'll actually double stack, so there'll be 14 bags of seed, about 150 apiece.
So how many bushels of oysters do you get out of this garden? About?
Well, out of a seed crop of about 2,000, we typically get about just under 1,900 oysters. And between the two families, we just eat oysters. Last year we had a really late harvest because the red tide last year, we can't harvest oysters during the red tide period. The red tide lasted to almost Christmas. So between the red tide, and then you also have to wait until you get the low enough tide to get out here. These racks become exposed at about a minus 0.5. Right now it's a minus 2, so you can see the water's quite a bit.
You need good water quality to eat eat oysters, right? So what should we all do to make sure that we have good water quality so we can eat what we grow?
You just have to be aware that everything you put into the natural system ends up on the beaches down here. You know, fertilizers and weed killers you put on your lawns. Most of the houses on Lummi, in fact I think all of them on Lummi, are on septic systems. You know, so you have to have well-maintained septic systems.
A lot of us have pets.
Yeah, make sure you manage your pet waste. All that. I mean, we were trying to get moss off the roof, and we went to the store and they said, "Oh yeah, use this," and you read on the label. Don't use around shellfish or beaches, you know, and things like that. People spread, put stuff on the roofs, and it ends up down here.
So it makes a difference. We have to pay attention.
It does. You have to read the labeling on things. You have to really try to go with minimal fertilizers and things, and just try to keep this system healthy. This seagrass and herring come in and spawn on this seagrass. You can see the egret colony eats down here. Sometimes we get as many as 24 or 25 egrets or herons down here.
It's a
bald eagles.
The place worth preserving, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, it's just out here. Nobody really owns it, but everybody needs